What's up, everybody? We're back here at the lodge playing another 2 5 10 cast game session with the $20 straddle on sometimes. And one of the first hands of the night, I wake up with Pocket Kings of the Cowboys on the button. It does fold all the way around to me, and I decide to open up to $30. Folds all the way to the $10 straddle, and they put in a 3-bet to $130. Hey, you know, we're going to be bumping it up here. I 4-bet to $280. And my opponent thinks for a little bit, and they do put in the call. So we're going to go heads up in this 4-bet pot to a flop of Jack 6-3 Rainbow. That flop is looking beautiful for the Black Kings that I have in my hand. Only thing I'm really afraid of right now is, of course, Pocket Jacks. That's pretty much the only hand that is beating me. My opponent does put in the check. I put out a wager of $175. Doesn't take my opponent too long as he comes along with the call. Turn comes the 3 of hearts, a relative brick. And the good thing about the 3 of hearts is that now it is a rainbow board on the turn. That means there is no worry about any flush draws. Very beautiful for me here. And my opponent puts in a check. And I decide to put out a relatively small bet again, just $180. We're just reeling them in right here, ladies and gentlemen. And my opponent once again does put in the call. We go to a river, and it comes the 7 of diamonds. Beautiful card for me to see. A relative blank once again. I am basically only losing 2 pocket jacks here. My opponent never has ace-3 suited. They never have pocket 7s. They can possibly have 5-4 suited, but that almost never happens here. We are looking pretty good. And my opponent does put in the check. And y'all know what it's time for. We're going to have an Aunt Jemima moment. I am all in on the river for $775 in this 4-bet pot. And my opponent doesn't make a quick decision this time. He goes into the tank. And he tanks and he tanks and he tanks for about 2 minutes. Then he finally puts in the call. I flip over my Pocket Kings, the Cowboys. And my opponent mucks and actually gets up from the table and walks away. Takes a little bit of a break. I'm not complaining. What a way to start out a nice, beautiful session at the lodge. Let me know about the biggest pot you won recently with Pocket Kings in the comments below. And next hand, I wake up with Ace Queen of clubs in the small blind. The $10 straddle is just on this time. Cutoff opens to $30. Button puts in the 3-bet and makes it $100 to go. And I'm in small blind, and it's about time for that nice cold 4-bet all the way up to $250. We are playing relatively $2,000 or so deep here, so roughly 200 or so big blinds. So I do really like my size in here. And my opponent on button thinks about it for a little bit, and they do put in the call. So we're going to go heads up to a flop of Ace 7 10 Rainbow. Beautiful flop here. No clubs though to hit that backdoor flush, so we're just going to have to hope that our top pair is good here in this 4-bet pot. And I put out a C bet for $160. My opponent thinks about it for a little bit and puts in the call. Turn comes the 10 of spades. This is possibly the worst turn that I can see. Just a really rough spot here. They're going to have a lot of 10x in their range that they 3-bet and call here. They could even have something like 10-9 suited, Jack 10 suited that they still call because we're just so deep here in this 4-bet pot. Wouldn't fault them for that. So I do have to proceed with caution here with this 10 pair. Would have loved the ace pair. I mean, if it did at that point, I'm pretty much going to have the best hand, and I'm only going to lose to like ace king, right? But yeah, unfortunately with that card pairing, I am going to be checking here. And once I do check, a couple of seconds later, my opponent loads up a bet and they put out $240. And with that 33% size in there, definitely not going to be going anywhere. If we hit an ace on the river, we will have the essential nuts here with aces full of 10s. So can't go anywhere yet. I do put in a call, and the river comes the 9 of clubs. kind of a brick card, kind of not a brick card. It is a brick card if you think about the fact that spades just missed there. But the 9 of clubs, I mean, they can have a hand like Jack 8 suited, but that is just way too loose to be 3-betted and call it in a 4-bet pot. So I'm not really too worried about that. And 8-6 suited is a possibility, though. I feel like they would have that a lot more than the Jack 8 suited variety here. So I do put in the check, and I'm hoping at this point my opponent does just check back. But unfortunately, they have other plans. They put out a bet of $650, and I do go into the tank here. They're betting roughly just 50% of the pot. So it's not really a big size here. But in a 4-bet pot, I mean, with the stack to pot ratio, it feels like a really big size, doesn't it? A lot of money is going there in the middle, and I'm just thinking, well, what does my opponent have? Like I said, I already broke down the hands. I didn't think that maybe they would have like ace jack here. I don't see that bet in river. I do still lose to ace king. They can have ace king, so that's what I was worried about. But the main thing I'm worried about is that 10. And I just go into the tank thinking. And I'm just like, you know, at this point, I am really at the top of my range here. I mean, just gonna have to call this a lot and just hope that they somehow are turning like a pair and a draw into a bluff or something like that. Just really have no other, you know, option here. So I do eventually put in the call, and my opponent actually does show the 6-7 of hearts. So they did flop the 7, which of course they're going to call on a flop and continue with, but they did turn their 1 pair hand into a bluff. Literally the only thing I'm going to beat there. Kind of hard for them to have, let's say, queen jack for that busted straight draw when I do have a queen in my hand. So yeah, really wasn't worried about them having that combination. But yeah, we take down second pot of the night. And for this hand, we're going to be in the $10 straddle, and it does fold all the way around to button, and they make it $30 to go. Everybody else folds, and I put in the call on the straddle. So we're going to go heads up to a flop of 9, deuce, 7, 2 diamonds. Looking pretty good here. We are drawing to the jack high flush draw. Looking pretty good. And I do, of course, put in a check to the pre-flop aggressor. They put out a bet of $50, and we are playing really deep here once again, over $2,000 effective. And I decide, yeah, I'm going to start check raising, and I make it $140. So I pretty much make a 3x check rizzle here. Love to see it. My opponent thinks about it for a little bit, and they do put in the call. Turn comes the 8 of hearts, and now not only do we have a flush draw, we actually do have a backdoor straight gutter to the nuts. If a 10 comes, we're loving that as well. We're only going to lose to something like queen jack of hearts, or some other queen jack. Pretty much just queen jack of hearts. They can't have any other queen jack, right? So we're looking pretty good here. And I decide, yeah, I want to put massive pressure on my opponent. I have seen this lady play before, and sometimes she can be a little bit tight based on hands that I've seen her play before. So I want to put her in the blender and put her to the test here. And when you want to put somebody to the test, you know what we got to do. Put out the overbet on the turn. Massive bet for $430. And she thinks about it like for a second or two and just lays her cards down. Love to see it. I love putting people in complicated spots. We take down the pot. Next hand of the night, the $20 straddle is on by yours truly. And we have a open from under the gun to $60. It folds all the way around to the $10 straddle. They put in the call, and we have king jack offsuit. So we're going to be putting in the call as well. So we're going to go 3 ways to a flop of king jack 8, 2 diamonds. Looking pretty good here. I don't have a diamond in my hand, but I flop top. Pretty much going to have the best hand unless somebody has pocket 8s, and the person who's more likely to have pocket 8s is the person in the $10 straddle. So I have to be a little bit careful here, but we are going to be inflating this pot as quickly as possible. And the $10 straddle does put in a check. I check as well. Person in under the gun puts out a bet of $75. And the $10 straddle actually just makes the smooth call. And I'm like, no, no, no. Cannot go three ways to the turn here. We're going to be bumping it up, put it in that check Rizzle all the way up to $300. Love the size in here. I did go 4x and could be vulnerable to diamond draws as well. And queen 10 want to definitely be charging everything that my opponents can have, and just hope they don't have a set of eights. And under the gun thinks about it for a little bit, and they do put in the call, and the under the gun $10 straddle does fold, and we go to the turn, and it comes the 7 of spades. Not the brickest card in the deck, as 10-9 does get there, but I do still have top. Not complaining here. I do look to the left and look at my opponent's chips, and I see that they do not have that much behind based on the stack to pot ratio here. So as usual, you know what it's time for. We're gonna have an Aunt Jemima moment. I am all in for $850. My opponent barely doesn't even think about it, pretty much just snap calls. And I actually, for some reason, decided to run it twice to be a little safe here. To be honest, I really just wish I ran it one time. Don't think I really needed to run it twice here. But yeah, that's the decision I made. And let's go straight to the run out. And for one run out, it comes with 2 of clubs, which is just the brickest card in the deck. And for another one, it comes the 8 of clubs. I turn over my king jack offsuit, and my opponent just mucks their cards, so we stack them at the table. Love to see it. We are running hot, playing well. We win 4 hands in a row. And $20 straddle is on again by yours truly, and we wake up with pocket eights, the snowman, my second favorite hand ever. And under the gun, the same person I just stacked literally last hand opens up to $60. It does fold all the way around to me, and I do put in a call. So this time we're going to go heads up to a flop of 10, 7, 3, all spades. I do have the 8 of spades in my hand, so I am drawing to an 8 high flush. Looking pretty good here. I do put in the check. My opponent puts out a bet of $50. Not going to be going anywhere yet, obviously. And I don't see a real reason here to be check raising with just the 8 of spades. Just not a strong enough spade to be doing that. And our 8s do have showdown value, of course, to just all these random C bets that might just start checking back on the turn. So I do just put in a call. Turn comes the 9 of diamonds. Looking pretty good now. That's not the card I expected to come. But we now have an 8 high flush draw and an open-ended straight draw. So looking pretty good. I check again. And my opponent does not take their foot off the gas. They put out a bet of $175. And of course, still I'm not going to be going anywhere. And still no point in check raising. So I do just put the call in. And the river comes a queen of hearts. Yes, I love the ladies, but this is not the time I wanted to see one. I bet you that. And yeah, just rough river. I do check. And then my opponent puts out a bet of $575. Just really not much I can do here with this big of a bet on the river. Just really no point in calling. It's pretty much a roughly pot size or slight over bet here. Yeah, just can't do anything with pocket eights. I have much better hands when I get to the river here. So I'm just going to lay this down and we're going to move on. And next hand of the night, the $20 straddle is on once again, but this time I am on button and I have Jack 8 of diamonds. It does fold all the way around to me, luckily, so I get to open this up and I make it $55 to go. Everybody folds, but the $20 straddle does put in a call. So we're going to go heads up to a flop of King 7, 9 rainbow. So I am drawing to a decent board here. If the 10, of course, comes on the turn, it would not be the nuts because the nuts is queen jack. But I mean, when we have a jack in our hand, kind of hard for them to have queen jack, right? That would just be a sick cooler. Let's just hope that doesn't happen. And my opponent does put in the check, and I put out a bet of $35. They, of course, come along and put in the call to such a small wager, and the turn comes a beautiful 10 of clubs. I just turned the second nuts here. I am only behind to queen jack. There are backdoor clubs coming in, so hopefully my opponent does have a club flush draw. Maybe they have two pair. I just want to try to get as much money as possible in with the villain here. And they do check. And being so deep here, I decide to size up really big on the turn. I put out an overbet for $300. Unfortunately, my opponent does fold, so we don't get paid with the second nuts. But hey, we do win another pot. And the $20 straddle is just loving me tonight. I keep playing hands in it, and this time I have 9-6 of hearts. It does fold all the way around to button, and they open up to $60. This is the same opponent that I just had the Jack 8 suited against. And it does fold to me after they open, and I put in a call. So we're going to go heads up to a flop of King 7 deuce 2 hearts. So we are drawing to a 9 high flush. Not the highest flush in the world, but hey, hopefully we can still hit it and maybe get some chips in the middle. I put in the check. They put out a bet of $40. And this time with my flush draw, I decided to not check raise. I just put in a smooth call. And we go to the turn, and it comes the 3 of hearts. What a beautiful card. Apparently Valentine's Day came late this year, but it's here. We have 5 hearts. That's a flush. Love to see it. And now I'm going to be, of course, checking once again to the pre-flop aggressor, and they do decide to check back. River comes the ace of spades. I love this card here. My opponent's going to have a lot of ace-x. They can still have some strong kings in their hand as well. Maybe they can have ace-king, some 2 pairs, things like that. But it would still call me with something like king-queen offsuit, with the queen of hearts, king-jack offsuit with the jack of hearts, I mean. So some hands like that. So because of that reason, I do still decide to put out a bet here instead of checking and one of my opponents a bet. Put out a bet of $150, and my opponent surprisingly does go into the tank for a little bit. He takes about 30 to 45 seconds, but eventually he does finally find the call. And when somebody tanks that long and they just put in the chips to call, you already know you're going to have the best hand. I turn over my 9-6 of hearts, or 6-9 of hearts, however you want to look at it, and we take down the pot, and that is so beautiful. We win basically 6 out of 7 pots for the night. And I have my best session ever at the lodge playing with the $20 straddle on. We take home $3,152. Pocket King started out this session very hot, so you have to check out this video right here where I get dealt Pocket Kings 3 times.